Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carrie. Fortunately, I don't hear stories about this from my clients very often. And it's very often secondhand that I do. But on occasion, I see these behaviors. I'll read an article or experience something with a client that's, well, it really gets me fired up. I experienced this recently, which is why today I want to talk about some toxic behaviors so that we're all on the same page and recognizing them when we see them. If you're out there dating, there are things I want you to avoid, and how would you recognize them early on unless you're familiar? So here are 6 toxic behaviors that you should never ignore, especially if you're on the receiving end or you have a friend or family member who's not being treated the way that they deserve to be. People can begin thinking this is normal behavior or treatment sometimes if they've become immune or gotten used to it, as so many people can and have. So if that's at all interesting or intriguing, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. If you're new here, I'm Carrie. I'm a matchmaker and a dating coach. And the first behavior we need to be on the lookout for is somebody who's controlling. This behavior shows up when somebody, well, very often, somebody is isolating you from other people in your life. It's because they're frightened and insecure usually, and that's definitely not an excuse. They're a person who needs to maintain power over you or feel that losing you might be the end of everything, and they just become desperate. The thing to be aware of is that many people won't notice this right away because at the start it feels like a love cocoon. But when you come up for a breather and take a look around, you'd notice that your support system and all the people that are important to you, they're now gone. So a good suggestion is to be aware of anyone who's not wanting you to spend time with your family and friends and let that put you on high alert. Number 2 is manipulation, often playing with the truth, lying and gaslighting. If you're ever feeling unsure or unsteady, insecure in your own thoughts and opinions, if you're doubting yourself or having somebody say to you, I never said that, or you must have heard wrong, or you're just too distracted, you're too this or that, blame shifting. Gaslighting you should always be something that you're watching out for, because gaslighting, I think, happens in most situations when someone's manipulating you. Number 3 is someone exhibiting jealousy, and not just in a playful way or in jest. Real jealousy isn't just kidding around. You've obviously heard people share that trust is paramount. Well, that's true. But you've also heard people say a little bit of jealousy is healthy. Do you really believe that? I think you'd have to ask yourself, how often would this be happening? And where do you think is the line between healthy and unhealthy jealousy? Is this jealousy rational? Is this damaging the relationship? If your partner notices someone flirting with you and mentions this to you later or blames you for that, it's different than kidding. And if it's just an imagined situation that they've created in their own head, this is often when it can become dangerous with somebody who's not necessarily stable mentally. Number 4, this person is never wrong and they will never accept blame and they will never apologize to you, so don't wait around for that. I want to take a minute here to welcome Tabu, a new partner to the channel. I know there are women here, like myself, who aren't currently in a relationship. What I learned is that there are repercussions for mature women who aren't maintaining an active sex life, and that's why I chose to partner with Tabu. Their mission is to make sexual self-care feel as natural as our skincare and exercise routines. The founder of Tabu partnered with gynecologists, urologists, and pelvic floor physical therapists in order to create a truly gorgeous line of tools, not toys, to help maintain sexual well-being. The Golden Hour Kit, it includes everything you need to help address common symptoms, including dryness, low libido, a lack of body confidence, stress, things that often come up as our bodies go through very normal hormonal changes. The name isn't encouraging us to keep quiet, and that's why I'm not. We have to have these conversations with one another. So take a closer look at these really glamorous tools. Just check out the link in my description box below and make sure you use the code CARRIE10 to get your 10% off when you take this first step to prioritize your sexual health. And remember, as my own mother likes to say, use it or lose it. If you're with someone who's refusing to discuss problems, they're stonewalling you, they walk out on disagreements and then will never come back to revisit the conversation, these are signs of that type of personality, along with behaviors that are sometimes called conflict avoidant. The silent treatment's a sign. It's something people learn sometimes as they're growing up, and it really is an attachment style for a lot of people. But you should know that this is something that can be overcome with a person who communicates in this way, and they don't have to continue being like that. It's not as dangerous or unable to fix as some other things. So if I'm describing you, don't settle for having that as one of your personality traits. You can be a better communicator. Number 5 is the toxic trait of being entitled. I used to think this was just a sign of immaturity, but there are really so many adults walking around thinking that somebody or something or the world in general owes them. Literally, it's one of my pet peeves. I just can't find it in myself to feel respect for people who don't own their own stuff. I know you've heard me say that when taking on new clients, that 20-minute get acquainted call is not only for clients to decide whether they want to work with me as a coach, but that's my screener to make sure I'm not taking on somebody with a sense of entitlement. If I can keep entitled people at an arm's length, even when it's affecting my bank account, you can too. The 6th toxic behavior, it's a tongue twister, is when somebody's constantly twisting blame in disagreements or conversations so that your complaints suddenly flip and you're now having a conversation about how they are the victim and you're in the wrong. I've definitely met people like this, and I've always referred to them as twisters. You can't figure out how you have something bothering you, and then moments later you're suddenly forced to be playing defense. Number 7 would be toxicity in the form of destructive criticism. I did a whole episode on how contempt is often a final straw for somebody trying to salvage an unhealthy relationship because it's a bad one. Many of the signs and symptoms and behaviors can be worked through, some with communication, others with the help of another person, a counselor or a therapist. If I described your partner and you've decided you want to talk about this, make sure that you do it not in the middle of an argument, but when things are calm. Sometimes scheduling a talk so that you're not tempted to do it in the moment. If you do talk to a therapist, don't be surprised if codependence comes up. And please make sure that you do the therapist thing if you find that you're already making excuses for somebody who's being toxic in this way in your relationship. But back to contempt, which is somebody belittling you and making you feel that you're small and less than they are or less than anybody, others. It's just typically not something I believe people can ever recover from. It can never just turn healthy from there. In the episode on the subject, I described what these behaviors look like, how they can really destroy a human being, and why you should never allow somebody to treat you like that. Maybe you'll check that out. In fact, here's a link to it here. Before you click over to check that out, don't forget to let me know if you found this interesting by giving the episode a thumbs up. As always, I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Until then, thanks, and have a good one.